So the topic this evening of energy, let's see what it means in our lives. You know, this morning I was looking up on the word. We all know what energy means. When that word is spoken or read, it conjures different things: electricity, light, energetic person, so many different images in our mind. And I was looking, I said, let's see what the dictionary has to say about it. And one of the things I found was the impetus behind any work done. And I thought that was a nice attempt, and it goes without saying actually that it is also true. Once somebody asked Swami Kriyananda ji, which is the most essential ingredient for success in any endeavor, and he says concentration coupled with energy. He says you need energy. You have to direct that energy towards whatever you're doing, and he says when you can focus it, when you can concentrate it, he says to that degree you will develop the ability to magnetize success to you. It's a very simple principle, and many of us are familiar with the teachings of Yogananda ji when he repeatedly mentioned the greater the will power, the greater is the flow of energy. And then he said the greater the flow of energy, greater is the magnetism to draw whatever we are seeking in life. This evening we will be speaking on magnetizing health and healing and vitality in our lives. So let's think of energy from that point of view. Let's think in our minds, you know, I'm also a doctor, and I immediately, when I think of energy, I think of a patient. What is a patient? You think of a hospital you must have visited anytime. Who are the people often? What are the people? What do they look like over there in those departments, in those wards, about to seek consultation? Often they are, you know, slightly they have a droopy shoulder, or they are sad looking, or, you know, somebody accompanies them invariably. Often they are supported physically because they don't have the strength or the energy to walk by themselves. And then, you know, I see often as a doctor that when I have to start a conversation with them, with those people, the patients, then I have to go slow. I have to attune myself to their reality. And often, you know, they are not able to even think of what problems they are having. When did they start? Or they often look at their relatives, and that's another beautiful way we will understand today of gaining energy. You look at somebody, you ask them, or they respond on your behalf in that moment. It's such a beautiful cooperative flow that's happening at that time. And then they take some time and they start describing you the symptoms. And the beautiful part is you see them a couple of days later when they come back or in their final visit, and they are so normal, just like you. It's like it's not anymore talk about what happened. It's about now I'm well, and can I start running again? Can I go back to my work? Can I start going to the gym, to my swimming and such? And you can see that how much it's often they say when we lose energy, when we lose that freedom that is so freely available to us, that we appreciate it the most. And on the same level, think of yourself or any energetic person. There's a sense of fullness about them in their physique, yes, but also in their face, you might say. There's a brightness about them. There is a smile they might have. Their eyes, their demeanor, their way of talking, it speaks for that which is animating them. And of course, they are often intelligent. They are intelligent people, even if their work is not related to intellectuality. They are very good at their work. They are sharp, they are focused. And again, these are so many ways energy manifests in our body. So let's keep these images at the back of our mind, because, you know, often our society, I often have been telling people, don't turn to society or to masses of people for something you are seeking quite seriously. Yes, we can get wisdom and experience from people, but often the society does not define things the way individuals might deeply be seeking them. And on a topic as simple as health and vitality, one might be thinking, oh, if only my small town had a super specialist in that field, I would not have to travel that far. they have their place. I trained as a doctor, then I was training in surgery, and it was at some point my keen desire also to be a specific specialist in neurology, cardiology and such. But then when I started delving and seeing the extreme limitations of the field and also the helplessness, now it is what it is, so I was fortunately not emotional enough to still go into the same lane, and I paused for a moment. I asked for guidance and I said, let me see. And fortunately, yogic teachings came into my life, and I was very thrilled to receive them, to practice them, to see their benefits on many other people. And today I'll share some examples of what people normally would call miraculous healing that has happened through these teachings. So as we go ahead on this subject, I would like to start with the very simple definition of health itself, and that's why I said don't turn to magazine and hospitals to know that definition. I'd like to read to you what my Guru Paramahansa Yogananda ji said is the definition of health. True health. Health does not mean mere existence. Keeping out of the hospital is not health. To be able to resist disease, to bear strain, to stimulate mental vitality, and to feel the body as a luxury, as a bird feels when shooting through the air, and as a child does always, is health. Isn't that beautiful? For years I wondered why this commonsensical definition was not there in any of the tons of books that I read. That the other thing we should keep in mind as we go in these next few minutes of learning is try not to define yourself or your illness merely in physical ways, because it is a good definition. We start there, we see it there, we feel it in the body, and so we define it that way. But try to keep an openness in your mind and heart for a possibility of greater healing or a greater reality than the physical form, because that's what we're going to explore today. Now, we might wonder, this word energy has become so common. By the way, I'll be sharing from this book, Glowing Health and Vitality, and if any of you are wondering where to read further, this is the book, and it is available at all centers of Ananda. Why is energy so relevant to us? Or is it, you might say, any more relevant to us today? Has it become any more common? Well, its usage certainly has become common. And I remember Swamiji telling us towards the end of his life, he says, my niece often says, this is a word that I hear practically every single time I go to college, in group discussions with friends, when we are finishing our work, anything. And there's a deeper reason behind it, I think. Energy, of course, they say, cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, and it has always been there, but its need is being felt in today's times. Also, it is being discussed quite naturally by people, and let's see why it might be a present day need. I'll take you over a century back. Paramahansa Yogananda ji's guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar, who was a man of deep wisdom, a yogi who lived in Puri and the south of Kolkata, he wrote a book called The Holy Science, where Sri Yukteswar ji described that our present times, we are living in an age itself of energy. He said, nature goes through cycles, seasons, we all go through different growth cycles, and he says the very creation, the planetary system, our planet is going through a cycle, a time of energy. We have come out of what is called Kali Yuga. It is the dark age, and now we are in the age of Dwapara. In the last about 300 years, plus 300 years, we have entered Dwapara Yuga. First there was a transition, now we are completely into it. And he says, then we go into Treta Yuga and Satya Yuga. These are the 4 cycles of time, going 12,000 years one way up and then coming down, ascending and descending. Now we are in ascending Dwapara Yuga, and it is not hard to see. For example, we couldn't start our webinar today because there was no energy in the circuit over here. There was no power over here. And light, telephonic conversation, people, talking of organic food, people speaking of the need of yoga, the need of subtler energy, the experience of that energy beyond physical realms, aura photography. All these are pointing in a direction which is very heartening, especially as a doctor for me, because it's opening up these beautiful vistas of understanding through the scriptures and writings, but also of experience and direct seeing. So let's go further in that topic now that we are in this beautiful flow of accepting that we are in the Dwapara age. Let's see what these teachings are bringing into our lives. Now, like I said, energy can be manifested in many forms. Yogananda ji once, he was in America and he was giving a lecture, and somebody asked him, how is the energy that you're talking different from electrical energy? And Paramahansa Yogananda ji said, you may think of electrical energy in the wires as high as it can be as the animal current of our times. And Yogananda ji was quite ahead of his times. And now people probably, they understood some of them, but let's see what it might mean. There is an outer energy in our body. When we think of exercising also, there is a certain energy that comes. But then Paramahansa Yogananda ji said that the human body has its blueprint in another energy body. There are 2-3 sequences to this, and I will not go into detail. You can read about them in Autobiography of a Yogi and in this book. But the chief one that we will today discuss is the energy body. And we won't even go into the details of what are called nadis and chakras, because I will take that as a separate class in these 4-week series. But just the fact that we have an energy body, what can that understanding and revelation mean to us to gain more vitality and heal ourselves? Well, Paramahansa Yogananda ji at another point said that everything in creation is a manifestation of what is called cosmic energy. This energy, he actually once said that God, when he created man, he had an intention, then that intention was given energy, and finally that energy took form, physical form itself. And let's take the simple, example of this shirt I'm wearing. Somebody must have had a thought, this is the kind of shirt I'd like to make. Such design, and then that thought, he must have given energy, bought some cloth, tailored it in such a way, colored it in a certain way, put buttons, pockets, and then spent some money, and I also spent some money to get this shirt. And first you have a thought, then you put energy into it. The final product is the shirt itself. And Yogananda ji said similarly, man was created, and he says, now, because we are in a higher age, many people are feeling there must be something more than this present physical reality, life and death, job, having a home, having a body. And especially if you have an illness, I often tell people, visit the emergency or any hospital. Even if you're not ill, just come maybe to see the doctor and talk of prevention, but come also to see that what is lost, or how what is missing when we are physically ailing. Yogananda ji said that when you're not having energy in your body, you still have the body, it's more or less the same, but when the life force, the energy goes down, he says there's a confinement, limitation that we feel. It's called dis-ease. Disease. All diseases fall in that category. And he says that you feel trapped or weighed down, put down, and people say, I'm feeling down, I can't wake up, I can't get up, I'm not up and about. That's because there's a weight that we feel. And today we learn some tools and techniques that when that understanding, when that energy unit by which our physical body is made, Yogananda ji called it life-trons, and he says life-trons become physical cells in the body. So when these energy units, life-trons, are compacted, we are confined. But there are some things which loosen them beyond the physical confines, and we feel so nice, we feel energetic, we feel up and about. Sleep does it most simply. When you're sleeping, you're not under any physical or mental tension, and when we wake up, we feel so energized. So Yoganandaji said this whole creation is condensed energy. Actually, now the scientists also know this for over a century. Energy is condensed as matter. Even an atom when broken can release huge amounts of energy. So this energy is present around us as cosmic energy, and it is also present within us as life energy, life force. In India, it goes by the term Pran. And I remember often seeing in movies as a child and hearing from other people, if some elderly person passed away, in Hindi we say, इन्होंने प्राण त्याग दिए हैं, that he left his pran, he gave up his pran, that this life force is inside us, and when that is gone, when that is withdrawn, the body is lifeless. Yoganandaji said, well, if there is so much cosmic energy all around and inside you, why is it that sometimes we don't have energy? We must be wondering, no, why is it then? I'm part of the cosmos, I should have the same energy. Well, you do. But in our creation, nature gave us this simple switch, a beautiful switch called will. It is an aspect of our consciousness. It is our, you might say your individuality is to quite a great extent defined. Your personality is defined by that willpower and how we exercise it. So the will is the switch, you might say, or the bridge between the life energy and the cosmic energy. And when we know how to turn that will, how to be willing to draw into it, to understand it, to benefit from it in different ways and from different sources, we will see that we can become as energetic as is required to accomplish anything in our lives. Paramhansa Yoganandaji made another very startling comment. He said, here is the mouth of man through which we eat food. He says, right opposite that, on the back side of the head, a hollow at the behind your head, or at the highest point of the neck, that hollow, he says, just behind that hollow is a part of the brain called medulla oblongata, and he says the medulla is the mouth of God. He also went a step further to say that when the sperm and the ova unite in the mother's womb, when conception happens, he says in the moment of their union, that point of union becomes the medulla oblongata. It takes that organ, that shape ultimately. Isn't that beautiful? The last time I read embryology years ago was in the year 2000, and I had a book. When I read this line, I said, let me buy the latest book on embryology and see how far the electron microscopes and such have taken us. And they were more or less still there where they were in the year 2000. But I was very happy to see that the yogis, they are the true teachers. They provide us this beautiful wisdom, which is a nice guiding light. Now what happens through the medulla oblongata? He says this is the mouth of God. Through this channel, through this doorway, through this gate, he said, comes unceasingly throughout your lifespan the cosmic energy. It comes all the time. When you're sleeping also, it just keeps pouring. Actually, it is that life force which keeps us, recharges us in the sleep. We don't eat food, we don't drink water, we don't do anything when we are sleeping. And how is it that after those 6, 7, 8 hours you wake up, you are so refreshed in body and mind? It's because you have been filled to the brim in that restful, relaxed state when cosmic energy has come and filled you. And Yoganandaji said it can be drawn actively through active relaxation by using your willpower. And that is what we will learn. Yoganandaji in 1918 was running a school, and he taught some of the boys over there these exercises called energization exercises, and you can learn them. Probably many of you know them already. And Yoganandaji said that those who practice these energization exercises with willingness and concentration, he says, all physical, psychological and spiritual illnesses will simply fall off their forms. What a promise. When I read that, I went into a deeper, detailed, study of how he defined physical illness. And he says all physical illnesses. He said that list is too big. Psychological illnesses, he says moods. emotional disturbances, melancholy. He says depression, unwillingness states. You want to do something, but there's a part of you which is unwilling. Fear, anxiety, restlessness. He says they can be banished when life force comes. When the light comes, darkness goes. He says that is the potential life force has. And when then he went into spiritual illnesses also, unwillingness to meditate or contemplate and test your beliefs. He says these all things can go when life force comes. And I was telling you, I've seen, the benefit in my own lives. Actually, my father is a wonderful physician. And one day he called me and he says on the phone, he says, son, you're going to stop my business this way. And I said, what happened? You are in Rajasthan, you practice there. I'm 1,000 miles away from you. Why do you say that? He says, over the last 5 years, your mom was every day taking a pill from me for her hypertension. Ever since you taught her these exercises and meditation, she has stopped taking them. And I was so happy to get this beautiful news in this form. I said, isn't that wonderful? I said, that's how life force works. Hypertension, done with all the tensions in the body. Yogananda ji said, dis-ease comes when tensions prevail, either mentally or in the physical body. And a yogi cannot make much progress if he's actually no progress if he's under tension. The whole basis of yoga teachings is ever deeper relaxation in God and in these teachings. Yogananda ji said that as we go about our work, there are these hidden tensions in our different muscles and bones and systems. And he says the nerves. Because when the life force enters through the medulla, it of course, as you can imagine, goes into the brain, it goes into the spinal cord, and the spine sends forth every single nerve that makes everything else possible in our body. So when life force is coming, and if it is not able to pass through a clogged nerve, that is not good. It does not reach and cause the healing and relaxation which is so possible the way nature intended it. So we need to tense the body, and if we relax it, Yogananda ji said, with deep relaxation, all tensions are flushed from the body. So let me lead you into this very simple exercise called double breathing, and with the relaxing the body, tensing and relaxing the body. Let's do this first with a single breath. Sit up straight and let's tense the body as we breathe in singularly. Tense your legs, arms, chest and all other muscles. And now breathe out and relax the body. Now let's take a double breath. And tense the body once again, bring it to vibratory level gradually. And now gradually relax and slowly breathe out with a double breath. Let's do this one more time. Tensing and now relax. Do you feel better? Do you feel a tingling sensation throughout your body? Maybe an openness, or as if more current is flowing through you. That is life force. If you keep the body still and you close your eyes and you meditate, you can feel actually stream of energy coming in through the medulla. This morning I was also thinking of this beautiful teaching of Patanjali ji on the topic of yoga, and one of the things was asana. And he says asana means to sit relaxed and immobile comfortably for a while. And so we can sit like that. So I was thinking that it's like, sitting still is as if allowing nature to perform a surgery on you. And if you move about too much, if you have too much tension, then something will go wrong and tensions come. So when we sit relaxed, you can feel the energy coming over here, and you can appreciate these life currents. And you can also, as I said, learn about these energization exercises further from us. I also now want to talk a little bit about other aspects of our, daily routine that can cause more and more of this energy to come into us. One of them is simple posture, a proper posture. That often as I said, patients, they cannot help but be like this, and they are lacking in energy. And when they are well, they are again straightened and, as if inspired, you might say. They are up and about. Likewise, if we keep a straight spine, it is paramount to allowing this subtle energy to come and animate and invigorate all of our body. Yes, the life force comes in through the medulla and then it goes into the brain, it goes into the body, but then there are these subtle currents of energy. This life force actually goes up and down along with our breath, and that's why when we need energy, we breathe in and we bring the energy up. So keeping your spine straight allows this subtle energy to come up against gravity and move towards the brain. And the more we can allow this, like we discussed the features of an energetic and a healthy person, full of vitality, brimming, smiling, joyful, bright. And so those are the things that if a straight spine is there, this energy can come up. And again, as you can see, it will require your willpower. Another very interesting thing about the proper posture is it opens up our lungs, because often if we are contracted and bent over ourselves, the lungs cannot breathe deeply. So sitting up straight and breathing deeply, inhaling, loosening this diaphragm. This is so common knowledge in yoga that diaphragmatic breathing is deeply relaxing and energizing to the body. Learn about this. We present this in our lessons in meditation book. Using the diaphragmatic muscle to breathe is much more relaxing, and again, there are different patterns of breathing that we can perform. A very simple exercise you can do to gain mental refreshment is even count breathing. You breathe in to a certain count, you hold your breath to a certain count, and you breathe out to a certain count. And let's try that actually right now and see its effects. Once again, I'll request you to close your eyes, sitting up straight. Loosen your shoulders and your diaphragmatic muscle. And now, let's breathe in through the nose to a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's open our eyes. Don't we feel nice? And actually, Yoganandaji suggested do this 10 to 12 times, and then you will see the energizing effect of the breath. Also, breathing nasally takes the air straight up to this part where the nose begins, and then it goes inside the body. But this part, there are subtle nerves that go straight into this foremost part of our brain, which is a very, very central part of our actions. It's called the chief executive function area of the brain. So nasally breathing, deep breathing, double breathing, it energizes us on all those levels. Of course, there's another beautiful pattern that Swami Kiranandaji suggested when people go for a walk. He says breathe in to a certain count, hold, breathe out, and then hold the after exhalation to that same count. And he says if you do it again and again, it increases the breath holding capacity. It also, the body is divided, you might say, into two halves like a magnet. And if you breathe in, you're bringing positive energy, life force from the medulla. When the will is drawn, life force comes along with the breath. And it comes and it magnetizes the upper half of the body. So the energy again naturally comes up. In yoga, a very common word is pranayam. Pran means breath, yam means control. And pran also means life force. So when you breathe in, that life force comes in quite consciously and in greater amounts. And for that reason, you can now relate that pranayams, all breathing techniques, they are very energizing. They bring more life force, and that's why it's very common knowledge that yoga today is healing so many physical illnesses, stress, insomnia. Let me actually share one or two examples with you. I told you about my own mom. Then I had this patient who had come to my rural clinic years ago, and he was completely paralyzed on the left side of his body. He was 28 years old, and he had met with a road traffic accident, so his nerves and his brain had been affected by that, and plus he had been in bed for close to 6 years after that, so a chronic case of paralysis. And he had received the best possible treatment for the body outwardly. When he came to me, I was for a moment, for a few minutes, I was just buying time as I was going through his file. And he had come with great hopes because he could not go to his farm. He actually said he couldn't even lift his own little daughter in his arms. Such was his imbalance. And I was thinking, what can I offer? What can I offer? And suddenly it struck me, well, he has an imbalance of two halves of his body. Why don't I teach him these energization exercises? And first he can do them mentally, and slowly, as much as he can, if he progresses, you won't believe, in 6 weeks he found a job in an industry. And he was well, to quite a degree, not completely. He stopped practicing. I had asked him, come follow up with me. And but you know, he got well by doing these energization exercises, because people, you know, we had this notion in medical science that the body can heal only so much. Yes, the body only so much, but when you tap into the energy reserves, they can heal the body itself. Now they know there are these cells called totipotent cells or pluripotent cells. They are potent in totality. Those cells can become any other cell of the body as and when required. I think the life force must be acting on these special cells, and it has its own intelligence. It must be causing the regenerative effects that are required as per the person's requirement and need. So let's keep these beautiful things in mind. And of course, meditation, Kriya Yoga, these things help with these teachings. Another very important aspect which I'd like to touch upon is the aspect of self-control or brahmacharya. And because so much energy is coming inside us, we wonder, where does it go? And Swamiji said, well, if you went to, milk a cow and you got this pail full of milk and you're walking back home, you should have ideally all the milk that you had. But often we reach home and we see the bucket is empty. And the reason is there are too many holes in your bucket. You might say the senses in our body, as useful and beneficial as they are can also turn into holes. And I was yesterday watching a movie in which the actor was given this news at a certain point that his father passed away when he was away. And his immediate response was, the subtitles said, sigh and bends over and sighs. And he also closed his eyes. And later I was thinking, he required energy to deal with that news. And first he lost it by giving out a sigh. But then he closed his eyes. He supported his head. Closing of the eyes saves a lot of energy, because the eye is a sense and it can go out and take a lot of energy out. People who think that TV watching is not harmful are grossly mistaken. They are often they are addicted to the TV. They require it for stimulation. Well, TV can teach you. Right now you're watching me through your eyes, but if we allow the eyes to wander just about anywhere, it will drain us extensively of our life force. Likewise with the talking, people talk too much sometimes, and that can tire the listener because his ears are suffering, and often ultimately it tires the person who is talking, because energy, the same life force, is wearing different garbs and taking different vocal, sound, visual, image, auditory, impulse, taste, touch. All this is the same God's cosmic energy, life force, which is taking different forms. So when it enters your body, try the practice of respecting it, respecting this creation, the way we are created, and also the sexual impulse. Yogananda ji said, is a major drain on people who do not know how to control it. He said a quart of blood is lost with each ejaculation. And yes, God gave us that impulse for the sustenance of the population, for species, but overuse of it can cause memory loss, it can cause premature aging, illnesses come, helplessness comes. Master says people lose the very tonality of their voice, the depth of their voice. So think about these things or read about them. We have books, a beautiful book, Art and Science of Raja Yoga, where this is discussed in great detail and practicality. So that's a very important aspect also. So now what do we do? Am I suggesting too much restraining or suppression? Not at all. I'm saying be conscious that the food also is energy. My talk right now is coming as an energy into you, that we don't want to be out there. We want to be slightly self-controlled. Use your will to also gather your energy. There's a very sweet and beautiful word in Hindi called sanshay, or sanshay it is. That gathering, allowing your milk to gather once again in that pail, because when you're brimming with vitality, nothing can touch you in body, mind or spirit. That's a sure sign. Your body will be thrilled and vibrating with that energy. People give too much attention to these viruses that come and go. Swine flu is here, that is there. Well, of course, it will take weak people, and it is. Weak people are affected by these things. But if you're brimming with vitality, you can be more or less sure that your energy field, your aura will deflect most of these negative vibrations. I remember once 2 doctors, and my sister, who was also a doctor, in her class got tuberculosis. And my sister was feeling quite sorry. And I asked her at some point, how are these people? And she said, well, they're okay, and once I met even one of them, they have ordinary, very ordinary energy. So if you're dealing with 50, 100 patients a day who are infected with tuberculosis and you're not energetic yourself, whether by proper food or exercise, how are you expecting to be protected? This is how illnesses travel. So keep your energy level high. I want to talk a little bit about the other 3 elements. One is air, breathe fresh air, sunshine, which as we all know is so, cauterizing, you might say. It beautifully cauterizes everything. These days in my prescriptions, I have started writing for people who have cold. I say, do water gargling with salt. Then I say sun gargling. And they say, what is sun gargling? And I said, open your mouth and your nostrils to the slanting rays of the sun in the morning and before sunset, when the sun is still strong, because it directly heals the membranes. Yogananda ji said it deals with the viruses and bacteria quite directly. Food, now that's another big topic, but let's see what we can do in the remaining few minutes. Food is very important for our energy. Many of us depend on it. All of us depend on it. Why am I saying many? In the book Autobiography of a Yogi, at one point Yogananda ji asked this lady Giribala, who sustained herself without food for many decades. He said, Mother, would you like to share how you're able to do this? And she says, oh no, the Heavenly Father does not wish it so. And I thought about it and I said, that would, he wanted us to eat food also. And food, again, what is food? It is crystallized life energy. Nowadays people are discovering every molecule of water has an identity. And likewise vegetables, Yogananda ji said they have a certain, each fruit and vegetable has a quality to it. In general, it is better to have more of a vegetarian diet, fruits and vegetables, milk and such, because vegetarian diet, fruits and vegetables are more direct and simpler condensations of life force, and they are made for that purpose by nature. So when we eat them, we are benefited. That life force comes and it is easily broken down. You will have to ultimately, Swami used to say, you can't eat hot nails, let's accept it, because our body is not made for that. Fruits, vegetables are easily broken down, and after a few minutes or an hour, we feel much more energetic. Again, you will see a juice is more immediately acting. Glucose powder with water is instantly acting because it's easily broken down in the body. Meat, on the other hand, as much as it is a strengthening and concentrated food, is also releasing too many toxins in our body, and it can cause constipation. It can congest our nerves excessively if it is retained in the body, which it does. It has to be actually quickly eliminated from the body within a couple of hours, which is not possible for human beings. I remember a patient recently I had who was totally congested because of a cold, and her whole family had come. I knew them, and they were repeatedly asking me, telling me she has a blocked nose, blocked sinuses. And looking at her, I was just thinking there is something more. And this is not the loss of energy of a common cold. And then it suddenly struck me to ask if she was a meat eater. And when I did, her mom's jaw dropped and she says, "You must scold my daughter and also my husband because that's all they eat. Meat all the time." And I was so delighted because I knew where the problem lied, the chronic problem. And I said, "Please, I suggested all the things that I'm suggesting now." And that's very helpful because it relieves the body of many toxins. Drinking a lot of water is also very helpful. Yogananda ji said that food can either dull our consciousness, that is tamasic food. It is very darkening, like alcohol, rotten food, food with a foul odor, processed food, deep cold storage food. He says, lifeless, what are you eating? Then he says rajasic food, which is next higher, is activating, energizing. Eggs, milk, spices, and protein of different form. It gives us that energy which is required for outwardness. But too much of spices and pungency is also not good. Again, as you can imagine, it will cause restlessness of the nerves. And for developing spiritual qualities and ennobling the mind, deep thinking, contemplation, soothing, calming the brain and body, a very good kind of food is fruits, vegetables, and ghee and juices, because it has a very ennobling effect. This is called sattvic food, or food which enlightens the brain. Food also has its own spiritual qualities. I just mentioned one or two to get you thinking. I was very happy to know that oranges bring about enthusiasm, and we can now see why so many athletes go for that fruit. Banana, which is such a spiritual fruit, brings about humility, Paramahansa Yogananda ji said. Coconut, which again, at least in India, is considered to be a deeply spiritual fruit and even a gift, a spiritual gift, Master said, produces lots of spiritual magnetism. And coconut water, as we all know, is so refreshing and light on our body. So those were some of the things on food and such. Well, one last word on the topic of fasting, and then we can go into question answers. Fasting is a way of giving rest to our alimentary system. The alimentary system is connected to our nerves. It actually operates and runs through the nerves. So when we can energize the nerves by giving them some rest, it helps our glands, it helps our endocrine glands, it helps our nerves and our stomach and intestines to take a break. Otherwise, they are incessantly working and they get tired. And then people say, "Oh, now I'm 40, I cannot digest this, and that does not suit my constitution." Well, we should respect and give the body its due from the very beginning. Fasting, of course, as you can imagine, can be partial and complete. Partial by, substituting 3 or, once I heard somebody said that they take 12 broken meals a day, and I said, that's too much. When are you doing other things? When you're taking so many meals, they say, "No, earlier I used to take 8, but this is heavy." 8 is also too much, however broken. Yes, small meals can maybe up to 4 to 6, very small snacks, I should say. But in general, if you're taking complete balanced meals, 2 is enough for a sedentary person, Yogananda ji said. Breakfast and maybe dinner, or breakfast and lunch. If you're outwardly active, 3, of course. But that kind of, so you can cut down on the quantity of food, or you can simplify it by moving from non-veg sometimes to more vegetarian, or from vegetables and cereals to partially on juices, or diluting your juices, or like I said, on a complete fast, coming on water for half a day or full day. And you will see, I spent 16,000 rupees. I had to actually take a loan to buy that book, but I was so stuck on it because it had about 12 research articles from, I think, Johns Hopkins about the benefits of fasting, and I just had to buy that book. It had research articles on how it prolongs, now it is known, it prolongs lifespan, it prevents and arrests brain degeneration, memory loss, so many things. So give those things a chance, and if you have any questions, please read this book. I'd like to open now to question answers. Joy to you.
The greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. Is there a way we can strengthen our will?
Well, yes, there are many ways. Willpower is when we are, doing a certain thing. By doing energization exercises, you can strengthen your will. By doing meditation, you can strengthen the will. By partial fasting, it's a wonderful way to test your willpower. First, I think what you're asking is, how can I make up my mind? I think aspire, ask, or see that a greater health, better health and greater energy will benefit you more. And then these are the tools that I described.
The only other question, you pretty much touched on it. How can we attain vitality?
How can we attain vitality? Well, that's what I've been talking now. Well, vitality, you might say the other way to describe it is lightness on the foot. And to not, so lightness on the foot comes once again by avoiding things which draw the energy down. I didn't speak actually, maybe now I have time to touch upon the topic of, a mental diet. Often we think that the body is quite separate from the mind. Well, no. When your energy level is high, you will see it instantly transform your very thoughts. Your very moods are dissipated, flushed away. And a very good example of this is, let's say you come back from work and you're not willing to, clean some dishes which have been left behind, or wash some clothes, do a certain cleaning, or wash your car. But then in that moment when you're resting, if your friend calls you out for a dinner, or a favorite movie is coming on TV, wouldn't you instantly be energized and spend the next few hours engrossed in that? That is because you turned the switch of willingness into something which you liked. So try to see if you like the things that have been presented here. So many people, and that's one of the reasons, honestly, I quit my profession as a doctor in the system where I was working. I was training as a surgeon. I said, people are not even coming with the consciousness of seeking higher solutions. And of course, I was not in a position to share them. But the body is truly, Master said, Yoganandaji said, this body, you're not this body. He says, this body is your servant. It has been given to serve your needs, to help you do things in this world. Think of it that way. Actually, our ego also resides at the medulla. And when you live in a healthy way, you can use the vehicle of this body to accomplish through your mind, through your creativity, through your energy levels of body, many things for different people. So vitality is a fruit of living properly, doing brahmacharya, practicing self-control and such.
Have one more question? How dependent are our thoughts on the food we eat?
Oh, quite a bit. The question is, how dependent are our thoughts on the food that we eat? Well, that's one of the reasons why we should not eat, we should not be doing heavy meat eating, because the Yoganandaji said the higher or more evolved the animal, let's say a buffalo or a cow or pork, he says they are aware when their life is being ended. They know they are experiencing pain during the process. There's anguish, there is fear, even anger in some animals. And Yoganandaji said it is going to form the qualities of that food, and then we eat that, and we become like that. Paramahansa Yoganandaji used to say, look how some nations are always fighting with their neighbors. They are very heavy meat eating nations often. So we don't want to go in that direction. Also, darkening quality, dead food, it will cause deadening in you. And many times I see the younger generation today, and they are into so much junk food only for the palate, only for the taste, only for the moment, just to fill the stomach. They do not have much life, energy or vitality, as you asking, somebody is asking. That bounce in their, step, or that willingness in their attitude is lacking. The courage is lacking. I think that's quite a bit because of the food. Okay.
There's a form of thought that people surviving on sattvic diet sometimes have negative thoughts.
Well, the question has come. Sometimes people on sattvic diets, very ennobling diets, also have negative thoughts. Of course, your diet, your carrots will not do it for you alone. You have to apply your mind, you have to meditate. We also have to affirm, and I'll close with this beautiful affirmation and visualization. Be creative. Ultimately, if God placed the mouth, of life force right here, it must have to do more with the mind than the body. So it's not in our knees, no? So apply your mind, use the power of the mind, try to gain more control, try to do one thing at a time which you were not able to do before, and you will see that health comes through that. Health is not just for doctors to mend or fix. It is for people to take responsibility for. Ideally, people should be so healthy that Paramahansa Yogananda said all this vegetarianism, non-vegetarianism, too much talk of medicines. He says just be properitarian, use your common sense. I was reading this morning, a new medicine has come for a viral infection. Each drug is costing $1,200. Can you imagine? And there's a course for 12 weeks. Can you imagine the cost? Why not give Life Force a chance? And it does have a lot of potency over these things. Yes, vitamins, Master said they are condensed Life Force. Antibiotics, I'm sure he would have said the same thing. They are condensed Life Force. They are more special. Herbs are more special. They can help us more than cucumbers. But then what about directly getting the Life Force? Do that. Let's close our session then, friends, today by listening to first a visualization and then doing an affirmation. Please sit up straight and I request you to close your eyes. Let's concentrate on the medulla, feeling and visualizing the light there. Let's repeat. Lord, thy cosmic current flows in me, through my medulla, flows in me. I think and will the current to flow. In all my body, the current to flow. I am charged, I am cured. I am charged, I am cured. Lightning flash goes through me. Lightning flash goes through me. I am cured, I am cured. And let's do this visualization and an affirmation which should ideally be done during energization exercises. Once again, please close your eyes and mentally listen. O eternal energy, awaken within me conscious will, conscious vitality, conscious health, goodwill to all, vitality to all, good health to all. O eternal energy, by thy power I know that intention, I put forth energy into the body, and in relaxation I withdraw it. I am a tenant in the body sent here by thy grace to rule it, but never to be identified with it. O eternal energy, impart to me spiritual patience, that I may regularly practice the exercises, both morning and night, to the best of my ability. Eternal youth of body and mind abide in me, forever, forever, forever. My mind awake, sleep no more, awake, sleep no more, wake, sleep no more. Peace, peace, peace. Final statements. I am strong, I am strength, I am healthy, I am health, I am successful, I am success, I am blessed, I am bliss, I am peaceful, I am peace, I am immortal, I am immortality. Peace, bliss, and peace. Well, and if you are keen to learn the tools and techniques of energization and meditation, I request you to register with us through this online medium, and we can start giving you those lessons in meditation and energization. God bless you all. Thank you so much for participating.